In this video, we're going to be talking about different problem structures and how to represent relationships through visual things and also through verbal discussion. So we're going to go over two word problems and go through the different types of structures you can use to solve them. So for this first problem, it says, Kennedy had 10 apples. She gave some to John. Now she has 2 apples left. How many apples did she give to John? So for this problem, I want to do a separate structure. And a separate structure is used a lot of times when you're doing subtraction. It's really used when some kind of action, when you have some kind of whole and some kind of action happens to it. So the way that that looks is you're going to have 3 circles. This first circle here is going to be the change that happens. The second circle is your starting point. And then your third circle is your result. So we have 3 circles. We have our change, start, and result. And the way this works is you have your starting point, and then something has to happen. Some kind of action needs to take place. In this case, that action is that Kennedy is giving away her apples. See, it says here she gave some apples to John. So therefore, since a change is going to happen to our starting point, we're going to make an arrow going from the starting point to the change. And then that is going to give us a result. So we're going to draw another arrow to our result. So for this problem, our starting point is 10 because it says Kennedy had 10 apples. So place the 10 right here. It says she gave some to John. Now she has 2 apples left. How many did she give to John? So we don't know what the change was. We don't know exactly how many apples were taken away. However, we do have a result, and that was that she was left with 2 apples. So we can just go ahead and put that right in here. And then, so if we look from our start to our result, and we see that we go from 10 apples to 2 apples, well, we know that that clearly is subtracting 8. So here we would just put 8. And that's how you show with a separate structure how to do this problem. Now, if we were going to demonstrate this in strips, we would we'll remove this first so we have room. And we'll start off with our whole, which is 10 apples. So we're going to draw a strip that represents 10 apples. So this is 10. And then we know how many she had left after, so we know another part of the problem, which is 2. What we need to know, though, is how much is this? This much left over. So, like we said, we started off with 10, and we know that she was left with 2, so what we need to know is how many did she give away? And that's what this strip represents. But as we solve the last problem using the structure, we know that that answer is 8. So that's how you use the strip to figure out this problem. Now for our next problem, we're going to use a different type of structure altogether. So our next problem is problem 10, and it says there are 10 students in kindergarten. 3 are boys. How many girls are in kindergarten? Okay, so for this problem, we're going to use a different structure. We're going to use a part-part-whole structure. And a part-part-whole structure, it looks like this. So you start off with a box and you divide it into 2 strips. The top strip you divide in half. And those each represent a part of the problem. And then this bottom strip represents the whole. So whatever the whole answer is, or the whole number. So in this case, the different parts of the problem are girls and boys, because the question is telling us that there are 10 students in kindergarten, so that's our whole amount. We can put that right down here. And then it's saying there are 3 boys. How many girls are in kindergarten? So clearly the problem is dividing the kindergarten up into girls and boys. So we're given 3 boys, and then we don't know how many girls. So all we need to do is look at our whole, which is 10, and we already know one part, which is 3. So what do we have to do to go from 3 to 10? Well, we add 7. So the other part of this problem would be 7. So the answer would be there are 7 girls in kindergarten. Now we're going to represent it using strips. So to represent this with strips, we need to start off again with our whole amount, which is 10. And then we know part of our amount is 3. So what we need to find is this part. How much is this strip? And as we said in our structure problem, 3 to 10 is 7. And if you add 3 plus 7, that's 10, which is our whole. So that's how you use different structure problems and strips to represent answers.